When my partner is saying that, like, I don't think I can ever forgive, I can't move on, right? Because that's
Yeah.
what she's saying, right?
Yes,
She's stuck, and you don't want that for her, right?
definitely not.
Often good, big hearted, hardworking guys hit a block when trying to reconcile with their partner. Because even when she's opening up, talking, her pain about the past conflicts with her guilt about the future, about what's going to happen with you guys. And we're not equipped to help her move past it. So stay with me in this client call to discover what you can do. I'm David. Through separation, program, reconciliation, being scattered as a relationship coach, I've learned how you can help her to move through these hard conversations. I explain to this client how we can use different communication skills, starting with the paraphrase to make her feel deeply understood, and ending with a vision for a shared, guilt-free future. So she pulled away a month or so ago, right?
Yeah, so much has gone on since we last spoke. So
Yeah,
yeah,
tell me what's been happening.
we've been getting on a lot better. When we do talk, it's a hell of a lot warmer. In the last 3 or 4 months, a good few long conversations. Maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe a little bit longer, she called one evening and we sat on the phone for a good 2 hours. She opened up a lot, used my skills as best I could, and continued to open the conversation a little bit further and a little bit deeper. There were some things I didn't want to hear in that conversation. She was basically reiterating the fact that no matter how much she doesn't want our situation to be our situation, she still can't forgive what happened and how it went down and how it made her feel. And also dropped in that conversation, she's still talking to that guy. Strangely questioned me about having a girlfriend. I'm sure you've got a girlfriend. I'm certain of it. Just strangely brought that up, and I haven't. But yeah, it's been a bit weird. I saw her earlier when I dropped the kids off. She said to me, "Look, I'll tell you, I went to Germany at the weekend for a little wellness trip. It was really good. The guy there had us doing letting go rituals and meditations and loads of time in the spa and lots of relaxing. And I came back and I came to the conclusion that I'm just not that guy anymore. I'm not the guy I used to be. I'm not going to consistently apologise for all the things that I did when we were going through the breakup because I'm not that guy anymore. I'm a totally different man now. And I can't keep holding on to this guilt and this shame that I had. Kind of brought that up to her the other morning when I picked the kids up. And then she reiterated it to me today and said, I'm not going to keep talking to you about all the stuff that went on. She said, it drains me and makes me feel sad. And I said, you know what? That's good for me because I can sit here and apologise. Come on. It's not going to change anything as far as I'm concerned. I'm not that guy anymore. And I can't keep apologising for a person that I'm not associated with anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah, she appreciated it. It didn't really seem like she wanted the conversation to end. She was working pretty hard to get the kids in the car and get them out of earshot. But yeah, it's so strange. It's so strange because I don't want to go as far as to say I don't care because of course I care. I'm good either way now, David. If things work out, put the family back together, that's amazing. If they don't work out, one way or another, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah. I think it's awesome that you are really clearly feeling that you're not that guy anymore. I would agree that we never really want to be this character who's just apologizing and apologizing anyway. Because when we apologize, you can see, like, in the course, we don't teach a section on apologizing because I think that most of the time, what our partner's going to interpret the apologies as, she's going to interpret it all as, what's his intention here? He's trying to convince me that all that's in the past and to drop it and to forgive me. She doesn't see good intention from that. It looks like you're still chasing that destination. It looks like you're still needy, which you're not. So by saying, I don't associate myself with the actions of the past, you're giving evidence that counters that notion that you are still that guy. I think the main suggestion is that when I talk about the past with my partner, we talk about stuff that happened. Rather than apologizing for stuff, I tend to use things like the contrast where I'm not apologizing. Let's say in that conversation, your partner she was talking about how that stuff still means that she could never forgive. That stuff still hurts. Rather than wanting to apologize for it, we want to understand it, show that we get it at the depth that she felt it, or deeper. So that's where your paraphrase comes in. I wouldn't be apologizing. I would be paraphrasing. I would be, if I had been in your position there back then, I'd probably be feeling like this. How do you think, if you had to label it, how do you think she would feel back then?
I did. I mean, I have used the paraphrase
Nice.
4 million times. And, I mean, to relatively good effect as well. And I mean, to roughly guide you on what I've said, it was along the lines of, it sounds to me like you're still really hurt by how that went down and the way it made you feel. And, you know, my intentions at the time have absolutely no bearing on it, because at the end of the day, you got hurt, and that's the thing that matters. She followed up, because I realised recently that I've been doing something wrong with the paraphrase.
Yeah.
I'd been trying to squash it all into one big monologue. You kind of put each section down and then shut the fuck up and let her paint a picture. You kind of draw the outline and you let her add the colour. It worked to really good effect. It kind of didn't get all of the sections of the paraphrasing, because it kind of loops on its own once you start getting the rhythm of it. It was a really good conversation. It was quite hard because there were a lot of things, and I just see that as, I suppose, as a test, because it's like a subconscious. She's saying these things to lean up against me to see what type of response she gets from me, and whether it's the old me who's going to show up or this much calmer version of me that now exists. But yeah, it was a good conversation in that regard. It's a strange I'm at peace. It would be really nice to be back together and to be a family again, but it is what it is, and the journey is the journey.
Yeah, that's it. What you said there before about how you get out parts of the paraphrase, you're absolutely right. I just want to confirm your thinking there. It's a conversation, and the paraphrase and like all of the different skills are meant to be interrupted, and you're meant to roll with it. You're meant to dance.
Yeah.
If one day you happen to have really smooth weather and you get the entire paraphrase out, the advantage is that you've labeled the emotion, exactly what she was feeling. And I think you said there that you must have felt really hurt by it. If the particular events that she's thinking of are like when you guys were in the split, she comes home and you make a bit of a move because alcohol and all that, and then she feels really bad about that, that you could probably go for a deeper label than just hurt. You could probably put yourself in her shoes for a second. Maybe I would feel compromised. I don't know, whatever feeling you think you might have there, you can kind of think...
Vulnerability was what I picked up
vulnerable.
on. Vulnerable.
That's perfect.
Sorry to talk across you for a second, but I've kind of found that I do have a bit of a problem with labelling. And that problem seems to be that I'm looking a little bit too deep. Recently, I read, I don't know what it was called, but essentially it spoke about something like the mirror game. So you treat it like a game. When they say something, you just repeat it back to them, and then you shut the fuck up, and you see where that goes. That led me into paraphrasing, and that, as a label, worked better for me than trying to interpret her deeper feelings, because it kept missing. You know, like, she wouldn't necessarily say, I felt vulnerable, albeit I know that's what it is because of the amount of conversations we've had about it.
It's a trade-off. So when you do paraphrasing, you're essentially mirroring. There's a book on all of this, Never Split the Difference, by a negotiator. There is that approach. The cool thing about that approach is that it doesn't provoke a lot of resistance at the start, because you're literally just throwing exactly what they said back at them.
Yeah.
The thing that you trade off is that it's very shallow, and eventually they cotton on to the fact that you're using a manipulation technique. So in a hostage negotiation that works, that goes for 24, 48 hours, perfect. In a conversation you're going to have week in and week out, not so much. So mirroring is cool. I tend to look at paraphrasing in levels. So like mirroring is probably the lowest level, but it's the easiest. Whereas then getting out like a really strong label where you nail exactly the right emotion and you deliver it with the right how. If you can guess exactly what she was feeling and you can say that back to her better than she realized it herself, you go into the understand part and you actually give a quick how I might have felt in that position and why I might have felt that way. If you nail that, she feels incredibly understood. And that is better than an apology. It's better than anything. Because when somebody feels deeply understood, it's so fucking rewarding. Why do people yap so much online? Why do people pour their hearts out? Why do they go on Reddit and pour their heart out? It's because they want to be understood. Why do they go to a therapist? Because they want to be understood. So when you can nail the label, it might mean that you hit a lot more resistance. She might think, how dare you go there? Or she might think, that's not it. Or you could get it wrong, but you never really fail, you learn. It's because it's a journey, right?
Yeah.
So you slowly march down the path of learning how she felt. And if she brings it up again, you can paraphrase it every time. And then if she says, like she said this time, I think she said to you that it's painful for me to talk about this stuff. I think it's going to be slightly less painful when she feels understood on exactly what the emotion was. But then still, she might say that and you can paraphrase that. And I think you have been doing this. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So I did.
Yeah.
She also said, I don't want it to keep feeling like I'm digging you out. I don't want it to keep feeling like I'm blaming you for everything. And I said that I'd mentioned that I did this retreat in Germany. Since last week, she's been a bit weird. We were at a point where we were speaking every day. For probably the last couple of months, missing the odd day here and there. Last week, knowing that I was going away for the weekend, knowing she had the kids at the weekend, she was acting weird. And I still get those little thoughts in the back of my mind that, she's planning dates or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I have to just let that go. And it's simply, if that's what she's doing, I'm not in control of that. I can't even bring it up because if I bring it up, all I'm going to come across as is I'm trying to manipulate her, I'm trying to control the situation. At the end of the day, that's not what I'm here for. But if she did say last week that she needs a holiday, she wants to go away, and knowing that I was going away, I paraphrased and said, you're probably pretty exhausted at the minute, and I can kind of feel it in you. And I know if it were me with the kids 24/7, I'd be absolutely worn out. I'd need a holiday as well. I have the kids twice a week, and I'm needing this weekend away more than anything. So she was pretty strung out, so I didn't get the best of responses. Barely spoke last week. We went like 4 days, 5 days without speaking. While I was away, I asked if the kids could video call me, and they video called me. She was stressy in the background. She was almost relieved when she started asking me questions about it, and I told her about it. She said, what sort of retreat was it? Was you like, taking mushrooms and stuff like that? I was like, no, it was like meditation and stuff. And she was like, oh, no, I want to go and do one of those ayahuasca trips. And I was like, we've sort of flipped. She was always sober, never drank, never did drugs. And now she's talking about wanting to go and do like a drug healing journey. There's me, stone cold sober. She said she doesn't want to dig me out. She doesn't want it to feel like all the blame's on me. And I said, I had to let go of a lot of that guilt. I had to, because at the end of the day, that guilt's not making anything better in my life. All it's doing is pulling me down. And she brought up, she said, I've got all the guilt because really it's all on me. Whatever you did or didn't do, it's me that made the decision to end it. It's me that made the decision to pull their dad away from their kids and pull the kids away from their dad. And at the end of the day, this is all on me. This is my guilt to carry. And I kind of really didn't know what to say. I didn't want to soothe her and say, this is all on me. If I'd have been a better husband and a better father, there wouldn't be this situation. Because I've said that 100 times, David. I've said it 100 times. There's no mileage in me soothing her in that way.
I agree with you. I would take a different approach at this point. I think that approach of when we paraphrase, leaning really hard on what a piece of shit my old self was and how I totally understand I would feel exactly the same. You still want to have the exact same understanding, but the frame changes quite a bit. So I want to touch on something about the whole dropping the guilt, because I think that it's great that you've done that. And I would say that that guilt in the first place is just really a part of that gluttony, deceiver. It's part of that beating ourselves up, which doesn't help her, doesn't help you, doesn't help anyone. Lightly self-deprecating like we do in the contrast skill, and you can lightly self-deprecate in a paraphrase where you say that like, I would have been feeling really vulnerable because sometimes I just had no thoughts in my brain. I was just going after only what I wanted. So it was this ridiculous caricature of a dude who didn't think. So you're not apologizing, but you are accurately laughing at your old self a little bit. That's more the approach.
Which isn't really like me of old. I've now add as much humour as I can to everything. So when I self-deprecate, I do it and I'm laughing because I'm like, that fucking dickhead would have just, I'd come straight in here. You'd have had a face like that. The dickhead would have gone straight outside, smoked a joint, and then come in with a big fat cheesy grin on his face and pretended everything.
But you can't really feel how that would feel from her side, and you can't really joke about that stuff if you still feel immense guilt, right?
Exactly.
And she can't feel really safe. So she can't start to surrender to that side of things if she's still feeling immense guilt. So that's where you still have some mileage in continuing to paraphrase on these things. But like I said, my approach would be different at this point. It's apologies completely out. You know that. Guilt out. Not necessarily. Lightly self-deprecating, doing exactly what you're doing. The angle for her side is that we want to label deeply and then lead into a deep understanding of why she'd be feeling guilty. You can talk about exactly how she's feeling, but then you can throw out things like the explore. I think that like what we want to be heading towards is figuring out which angles you can use to try to deeply paraphrase her on those feelings that she can't get past. And it's not really, we're doing it. You know how we talked about intentions a hell of a lot? We talked about balanced intentions. It's good for her. It's good for you. It's the kind of person that you want to be. It's the kind of thing you want to do. So self-deprecation on old self. With this, we've already gotten rid of the guilt and how to lightly self-deprecate. Focus on nailing the start with the soothe, because she's going to think what your intentions are. Step 4 of the soothe, we talk about our intentions. This is going to allow you to get your intentions out there because you're going to see the potential resistance. I know sometimes this stuff not really comfortable to talk about, and you might just want to say nah to the whole thing. And you just march through the soothe there and hit there with the actual intention quickly, like bang, bang. And then you can go into lightly self-deprecating on some of the old self stuff. And that's kind of like one angle. So it's either she's feeling a whole shitload of guilt. So you could go deep on that. You could go deep on why she might be feeling all of that. And you can actually start to campaign on a vision of the future that's maybe different from the one that she's got in here. Because if you can use like maybe the explore, use the explore where you've kind of got like your current justification for what she might be thinking and what you might be thinking, and then like the antis to that, and then you clarify. So you can kind of use that to figure out a little bit deeper why she might be feeling all of that, and then paint a vision of the future where she doesn't necessarily have to feel that guilt, because you want a win-win. You want to make sure that you guys are good, that the kids are good, that she's good. You're going to be there regardless. So you can kind of paint this picture for her where it's like, this happens. These things do happen. I did a part. You did a part. I'm no longer feeling guilty. I do recognize what a piece of the old self was, but I'm no longer focused on the guilt. Maybe you could focus on the past as like, that's what happened there and I can learn from it, and you can feel less guilt yourself because I don't blame you. So you can, does that make sense? What do you think? And you can have those conversations where she can help herself get out of that a little bit.
Do you know, that's pretty close, other than the clarify at the end. That's
Yeah.
pretty close.
Okay.
Pretty close. It's kind of difficult that she doesn't really want to have those conversations anymore, because I could thrive in them. And I've been looking forward to those conversations, because
Yeah.
when we have them, I get the opportunity to understand more. And she did say that today. She said, I know you were involved when we had those conversations, and you want to understand and you want to get it. And I said, yeah, I want to understand more than anything. I don't want to make the same mistakes I made before. Whatever my future holds, I don't want to go through this again. The more of those conversations we have, that was good for me. But I don't really want to keep rehashing over the past. I don't think we get any benefit of sitting in the shit together and feeling like we've both failed here.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we've both got to move forward in life. We can't keep sitting in the shit. There probably would have been absolutely perfect. And yeah, missed that one off.
It's all right. This is why we keep coming back and looking at it again, doing the revision on everything, looking at our journal, making sure that our thinking is constrained and complete. But that's the angle that you've taken, which is awesome. So you can see that, like, what he said there really should have used the clarify. And because I mentioned the clarify there as like the last step of that explore skill. And I think it's crucial to understand that, and this is probably why all of his paraphrases were struggling. His paraphrases were not struggling because he was trying to go too deep. If anything, I think he wasn't going deep enough. But if we don't phrase everything with curiosity and caring, if we come at it like we know them better than they know themselves, there's going to be resistance, for sure. It's guaranteed. So that clarify that comes at the end of the paraphrase, it comes at the end of the explore skill. What we're doing there with that crucial clarify is really just kind of finishing on, is that kind of it? Is that what you're feeling? Or especially with like the explore, you would say something like, you could think about this completely differently. I could be so wrong. Could you tell me a little bit more about what you were thinking? So you're literally phrasing the whole thing as more like a question. I need to really emphasize this fact that for multiple parts of these skills, we're always framing our labels and our understanding part. And like when we're talking about our old self, we're always framing how we think she might have felt as just a tentative guess. So, like, everyone is going to hate feeling like, you're twisting or diminishing or reinterpreting how she felt. It always has to come from that antitheticness, meaning choosing to think, how could I be wrong? How could I have misunderstood this? We're always coming at it from that angle instead of the, I know that I'm right, I know her well enough. We're always coming at it thinking like, I could be wrong here. And she has to feel that from us. And we're coming at it with curiosity, and we're coming at it with abundant kindness. So the kindness is like that. It's so many things tangled up in that, but essentially it's like we're not greedy for her to acknowledge what we've said or to be right. We're really doing this with the best intentions in mind. All right. If you want more free tools on how to navigate these tough relationship challenges, there's a link in the description with a free guide to help you start taking the right steps along your journey. If I find that I have a conversation about something, I'm almost expecting that 3 weeks later we'll be having the same conversation, because you are just planting seeds, right?
Yeah.
You pass someone an idea. For example, I spent a year talking with my wife to help her with some of the stuff that's been plaguing her for like 2 decades. And those conversations, it would be light bulb moment. It would be, wow, yeah, you're so right. Wow, that's exactly it. And she feels very understood and she feels very sure of where she wants to go. And 2 weeks later, she's struggling again. I talk about feedback loops and confirmation bias, entropy, etc. They start these negative feedback loops where things just keep going, not necessarily in the direction that we want. And then what we do is we use all of our new skills, our new self, the beliefs, shorter beliefs and everything. We turn it back the other way for a second, but then the momentum's quite strong and it does turn back. Eventually what you'll find is that if she keeps feeling safe, if you keep really making her feel more deeply understood than perhaps she felt herself, deeper than she knew, she'll keep coming back for these conversations because they're intrinsically rewarding conversations, and you'll eventually help her through some of the things that are having a little trouble sticking at the moment. You can always go deeper on stuff as well. I tend to see what you're describing as a normal thing, and I see it as a sign to keep on the current course. If I can, I prepare perhaps going deeper on something that's valuable to her, getting out of guilt, or the kid, talking about the kids, or root causes of problems. I'd kind of have those in my back pocket. And then our instincts for things are usually pretty good. Your partner, how you guys interact, what level you're currently at, where on the journey you are roughly. So you can kind of predict almost when these things are going to come up. And usually the thing that you prepare is something that she says something and it leads into it quite smoothly. But if we don't have it in our back pocket, we're kind of missing those opportunities a little bit. We can still be paraphrasing, we can still be doing stuff, but it's a little going through the motions. Case in point, why did I see all the signs that my wife perhaps had some problem that she needed help with, but not do anything about it for a decade? We practice these things and keep them in our back pocket.
It's very easy to launch into, well, then let's just get back together. Let's just make it work. You know, oh, yeah.
Little monster. Just say hello. Say hi. It's funny. There is a hell of a lot of power in really surrendering to that journey and forgetting about the outcome, because if you can actually say to her in those kind of moments that, like, I don't think I can ever forgive, and you could say, I mean, your intentions there, you're not going to actually say this verbatim to her, but just if you think about what your intentions are, because you can drop your intentions in the bandage, you can drop your intentions in a retreat, you can drop your intentions in the contrast, you can drop your intentions in the soothe. And if I just think about what my intentions are when my partner is saying that, like, I don't think I can ever forgive, I can't move on, right? Because that's what she's saying, right?
Yeah, it's like it's two tracks.
She's stuck, and if you don't want that for her, right?
Definitely not.
Personally, I want you to be empowered and to not feel all that guilt. I don't want you to be feeling all that guilt and feeling stuck. And is that kind of how you feel there? I would want you to feel empowered to move forward. So that could be to move forward towards something else. And that's kind of a win-win for me and for you, because if you do move forward and you do meet someone else without feeling tremendous guilt, you go and give that a shot, then you know whether or not that's going to work for you. Or if you end up happy there and I end up meeting someone else, and that never is going to change how much I'm on your team and cheering for you to win. It's never going to change that.
Yeah, we've had very similar conversation to that. In that long conversation, when she brought up that she didn't want to go on dates or anything with him, or she didn't want to be in this position, I said, you're probably going to have to, at some point or another, explore what's right for you. If he makes you happy and you're a happy person, then I'm happy. Eventually, both of us are going to find happiness again one way or another.
Yeah. So you are painting that picture. You are slowly painting that picture. You not feeling all this guilt, but having my blessings to actually just go and be empowered and live your life. And we're co-parents, and you're like, I want to empower you because I want you to be able to make a decision. I want you to be able to move. I want you to be able to feel better. I want you to be happy. Because her confirmation bias is probably that you're hanging on to see what happens, and you won't be happy if she does that. If she's not able to currently talk openly where she's at with options, then she's probably not able to feel empowered. If she can't feel safe to talk about it, then she doesn't know what you would do, what you would say, how you would react. You could talk about things as hypotheticals. Like, hypothetically, if you were seeing someone, here's how I would feel. Here's how I would act. And here's why I would feel that way. Hypothetically. I'm not saying there's anything going on. I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just saying this is how I would feel and this is how I would view it. But what I think that you've been doing, because you have had pretty consistently periods where you had great safety and things got closer, and then She goes somewhere, doesn't tell you, you don't know what's up. In her mind, she's worried that he thinks I'm out cheating. That would be a game changer. That would make him immediately swerve right. I'm not talking to you anymore. That would make him mean. That's what she's thinking.
Yeah,
It's
I like the idea of the hypotheticals. I don't know how she feels about opening up about the fact she's still talking to this guy. She has told me that she's speaking to him, but I was just like, well, I expected you was. Through this period of time, I was expected that you're in a relationship with him, and I accepted that for what it is. It's not in my control. She has thrown some weird ones. The girlfriend comment was a weird one. We were putting the kids in the car a couple of weeks ago. I dropped them off. She was going out. And she said that she'd gone out the night before to a work event and said to me, oh, I was talking with, I can't think of the woman's name, Suzanne or Leanne or some sort of Anne. And she said, he's a man. He must have slept with someone in his time. And I was like, that's a really strange thing to say to someone. Because you think, because I'm a man, I must have been sleeping around. Surely the same thought works the other way around,
yeah.
you know. And in my mind, it has been. And
That's
it's,
something
I can't.
belief people could have. I don't think it's accurate.
I did have question marks as to what her thinking was at that stage. And it was short lived because the reality of it is I have no bearing on it and thinking about it changes nothing. For 24 hours or so, I was putting me and sex in the same thought now. And that's why she brought that up. Is that because there is attraction building there and maybe she's wondering? And then I just thought it makes no fucking difference at all.
So we're talking about arousal and things like that. It's a simple thing of, do I feel safe enough with this person that I can start to get close to them and start to trust them? That's why the beginning of relationships is super exciting, because the safety's a little bit questionable. All signs point to good, but until proven. So the safety is causing a lot of emotions to happen. And then the admiration is like, is this person my cup of tea? Yes, they are. They are absolutely my cup of tea. But you can feel really safe with someone and feel absolutely no admiration, and they're just going to be a friend. You can feel really safe with someone, feel a lot of admiration, and now I need to chase alignment. Now I want to align with this person. That's where a lot of the time relationships don't happen, because you have some initial safety, talk conversations, they're hot, they have a husband, and there's no alignment. Your life and their life are not going to run on parallel tracks. So you say, I can't build all three, so I'm not going there. But it's has to have the three legs of the stool, and then the arousal, the attraction can commence. If you notice that your partner was always hot on you, always trying to jump your bones, and then that's disappeared, it just means that she no longer feels safe enough to allow all that to occur. She no longer feels safe enough for those emotions and feelings to arise. So when she starts to feel safe, then she starts to feel attraction again, and she starts to realize that your train tracks are not running too far apart, and then she starts to panic, so she breaks safety herself. So it just becomes a case of, can we help her to feel safe? Can we work through all of the issues that are stopping it? So like that goes back to what we were talking about. Can we go deeper on some of those things? Can we label really well and make her feel more understood than she understood herself?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that I'm building the pillars slowly but surely. I'm sure that it's like you mentioned, on the right track. It's just a case of keeping that.
Patience is figuring out what to do in the meantime, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Mate, it's been great chatting with you.
Thanks for your time.
Cheers. This was just part of a longer conversation with this particular client where we went deep on creating the ingredients that can ultimately lead to your partner wanting to decide to come back. I wanted to separate these particular parts out, but you can see we went really deep on just one of those ingredients in the last part of this video where we discussed empowerment. If you want to watch that other video, it's here. And please subscribe for more help with repairing your relationship.